hospital that complements your needs with our robust outpatient specialty clinics. From preventative care to critical care, we strive for consistent excellence at GRMC. Our core philosophy is where patients are partners, which means we work as a team to make a healthier version of you. For more information about GRMC, visit us at grmc.gu.
Every time I travel, there's something from home that I can't leave without. I take my Docomo Pacific Data to Go to share my stories in Taiwan, check subway routes in Tokyo, be my food guide in Hong Kong, meet new friends in the Philippines, make updates in the States, find my way around Korea, and check out all the cool shows in Singapore. It's the data I have in all the places I love for only $10 a day. Data to Go from Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 7 minutes past 8 a.m. this Thursday morning. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. Here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Governor Leon Guerrero says she will seek a total Guam exemption in an effort to lift the current restrictions on the H-2B visa program and relieve the shortage of skilled foreign workers on island that she said has already had a detrimental effect on Guam's economy. The H-2B crisis topping the list of issues raised by the governor in her speech to the Guam Chamber of Commerce at the Hilton yesterday. She called the decision by Homeland Security recently to remove the Philippines from the list of countries eligible to take part in the H-2B visa program first and foremost in everyone's mind. However, she noted that the rule change does allow an exemption for workers needed for projects related to the military buildup. So our approach, she said, will be that all of the construction projects on island are tied to the military buildup. That's the case she said she'll make to Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen when she goes to Washington at the end of next month. Our case for a total Guam exemption is strong, said Leon Guerrero. We are gathering the evidence now and will make our case based on the numbers. The 35th Guam legislature held its first public hearing yesterday, and one of the bills heard was the or more bill that would enable the implementation of a tax increase on property improvements worth $1 million or more. Senator Joe San Augustine introduced the measure. Bill number 4 is a reintroduction of a bill former Senator Tom Atta proposed last November. It merely corrects the wording in the 2019 budget law by adding the words or more to allow the tax increase to take place. Acting BBMR Director Lester Carlson testified in favor of the measure, saying failure to pass it would result in a $9 million shortfall in the Territorial Education Facilities Fund. That would force 7 GovGuam agencies to cut their budgets, with the biggest blow falling on the Guam Department of Education, which would have to cut spending by $4.5 million. One problem raised during the hearing is that the property tax bills have already been mailed out. If the or more bill becomes law, the affected property owners will now get another bill reflecting the higher tax rate. Carlson recommended the adoption of additional language to Bill 4 that would allow the tax increase to be retroactively enforceable. Senator San Augustine, who used to be a tax investigator, said the reissuance of the property tax can still happen. He said the governor, who is the tax commissioner, can authorize a rebilling. I know that for a fact, he said. We'll have more news after this.
At Chili's, our burgers stack up with anyone's. Handcrafted to order, smashed to lock in flavor on a toasted brioche bun. Our burgers are all kinds of perfect. Choose from the Chili's Chili, the Mushroom Swiss, the Ultimate Bacon, or you know what? We dare you to take on the Boss Burger, loaded with smoked brisket, rib meat, jalapeno cheddar sausage, and bacon. We may have really out-burgered ourselves. Our burgers are more than a handful, served with garlic dill pickles and fries. So hurry in today and enjoy our juicy, melty, yummy, handcrafted creations. Perfection between 2 buns. Chili's. More life happens here.
Helen Keller once said, "Blindness separates us from things, but deafness separates us from people." At Ross Hearing Aids, it's their mission to keep you connected to the moments and the people that matter most in your life. Hearing aid technology has never been better, so schedule your complimentary hearing consultation today. Call Ross Hearing Aids, 637-HEAR, 637-4327. You should hear what you're missing.
I love you, Daddy.
How's your hearing?
10 minutes past 8 a.m. here at The Point. A study conducted by the University of Guam Regional Center for Public Policy has concluded that the perception of corruption on island has increased substantially in recent years. According to the study, about two-thirds of respondents believe corruption is a very serious problem on Guam. Political parties were viewed as the most corrupt, while religious, military, and nonprofit organizations were viewed as least corrupt. The Guam Corruption Perception Report is the first attempt to measure the perception of corruption. Its authors say the aim is to provide a benchmark for comparison with other countries over time. The results were announced at a news conference yesterday at the university. UOG professor of economics, Maria Ruane, said the results are based on a survey of Guam residents that was conducted by the School of Business and Public Administration at UOG. The island's only medical examiner, Dr. Aurelio Espinola, has retired effective today, and no replacement has been hired to replace him yet. It's unclear who will perform autopsies on island now. The Commission on Postmortem Examination was supposed to meet yesterday to decide what to do, but the meeting was canceled and no new meeting date has been announced. Payout for Dr. Espinola's retirement benefits has caused a budget shortfall in the medical examiner's budget. That prompted pleas to the administration for help, which have not yet been answered. Dr. Espinola telling the Guam Daily Post earlier this week that he has been asked to remain on call until a replacement has been hired, but he said, "I have to talk to my wife to see if I can still be on call after this week." For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Ray and Mike now with weather.
Partly sunny and breezy with a slight chance of light showers. Winds from the northeast up to about 25 miles an hour. Daytime highs expected to be near 88 degrees and overnight lows about 77 degrees. We'll put a little bit of that 25-mile-an-hour wind against that, and it will be downright nippy tonight. Sunset at 6:20. Sunrise tomorrow morning at 6:48. There's still a high surf advisory in effect and a high risk of rip currents through late Saturday night along north and east-facing reefs. So it's still a lousy idea to jump into the water. And take a look at weather radar from the National Weather Service and see what this has to say about. Wait a second, I gotta make it so that we can see Guam in the picture. There we go. So there's a National Weather Service version of the radar imagery, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot by way of weather moving in right now.
No, just the isolated stuff as it is, and that will continue for the next several days. You know, being here on Guam in the tropics, always a chance that some of this wind could pick up a little bit of moisture and, drag it over the island, and that just is the way things are here. But widespread precipitation not really expected because we got high pressure building in. You can see it here on the satellite. Looking quite impressive. Looks like we may have another shear line that might be pushing through, coming in from the northeast. But I can't promise that because it all looks like it's starting to retreat a bit as you get over to the west. You can see how some of it's moving this way, but then you go off to the northwest of us, and you can see how some of it's actually kind of peeling back the other way. At least that's what I can see here on the satellite. So, at the very least, we'll have these nice fresh breezes for the next 2 or 3 days, and that should continue.
And the opportunities for breezes and grill marks at the same time over the weekend. So if you were thinking, if you've deprived yourself of the beach recently, this would be the weekend to unhook from that and get some beach time in. 8:13, that's news and weather together here on The Point.
Are you waiting too long for a home loan decision? Are you looking for a bank that understands your needs and can close your loan quickly at today's super low rates? Then come no further than Bank Pacific. Our home loan specialists are friends and neighbors from your community, and our decisions are made right here in Hagåtña. Bank Pacific, where we're open to closing your loan in a hurry.
Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal housing lender, correct conditions apply. Viva Bank Pacific.
Hey, see if you can get my buddy Chris on the line. Talk about a karate thing that's going to be coming up here soon. 8:14 in the morning. Portions of the Ray Gibson Show brought to you by the guys over at King's Restaurant. Decades worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Try it today in Tamuning or Harmon. And then we got the American President lines. They're shipping the future. Micronesia Renewable Energy. There's never been a better time to go solar. And Guam Regional Medical City, the first choice for all of your specialty care needs.
The Coconut Wireless is back. The Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
man, I love that. Just digging the music that we're playing these days. It's the start of another year of doing the show, and so Mike went through and kind of recut everything and found different voices to tell you basically what we've been telling you last year. But it's just a change. It's like a new season on television is what we're shooting for here this morning. Blake Watson stepping up to the microphone here this morning to begin the process of pretending to talk about sports. And I got a couple of sport things I might be able to share with the listeners. Oh, yeah? Well, just hold on a second. We got to get the producer's attention. Woo! Wait.
There we go.
Look over here. There we go. Turn that thing on so I can hear Blake. I mean, I could hear him before, but I hear him much better now. I can hear the whiskers in the conversation. Yeah. So, no, buddy of mine, who's that guy? Chris Bianchino sent me a thing. And so he's the buddy that takes care of all of the printing stuff that we do. Mm-hmm. And so he sent me a deal. Said the World Karate Organization, Shinkyoku Shinkai Karate Guam, will host a 2-day international training camp and seminar Friday the 15th at the Royal Orchid Hotel, Saturday, February 16th at the Outrigger Hotel. Special guest instructors for this event are WKO President and 5th World Open Karate Tournament Champion Shihan Master Kenji Midori and WKO Executive Director in Tokyo Bay Minato Branch Chief Shihan Yasukazu Koi. This will be the third karate seminar conducted by Shihan Midori in Guam. And they'll go through everything, the multiple training sessions focusing basics and fundamentals, your kata, or form, fighting drills, and strategies. This will also be a black belt preparation course for WKO students taking their black belt examination later in the year.
Where's it at? Where's that?
It's February 15 and 16. So 15th is at the Royal Orchid Hotel.
Royal Orchid.
And the 16th is going to be at the Outrigger. I don't know whether they're the same or different. We'll see what we can find out when we actually get my buddy on the phone.
It should be noted that the fetal position is not proper kata.
No. I generally don't think so. Well, he's not available right now? Is that what he said?
Tomorrow. He'll talk about it tomorrow.
Well, you know what? We'll need him tomorrow. Yeah. Program note, Blake's not going to be here.
Mm-hmm. You know, and it works out, too, because I just got a note, speaking of from home, that says that my daughter actually was held out of school today because she was sick. Oh. So it works out because, she's got an appointment tomorrow. So that's just good timing.
Okay, so, timing being everything. So we have two babies in the family now, and one of them is sick, and the other one needs to have a checkup at the same time,
because
right?
he's brand new. So, you know how it is. He's got to go once a month for, like, the first 5-6 months.
Well, I don't know what we're going to do about Sports with Blake. Tomorrow, I'm sure we'll come. I was going to say I'll call Renee and have her come back in, but you know what? She's traveling right now.
Really?
Yeah. I saw a Facebook thing. She's out. Yeah, people don't do that. Don't tell people that you're traveling when on the Facebook and the social medias, because that's just a note to the bad guys that you're not home. So just FYI, might want to keep that a secret. I'm out of town, but my silent attack dog is still at home. That's what you want to be able to type on these things. Anyway, so we got sports, and so we're not going to talk tomorrow, and I don't know if there's any other decent Super Bowl related stuff that we could bring up anyway.
So the Super Bowl, I wanted to say it's we decided, right? 9:30, or not that we decided, but
they've decided.
Yeah, they've decided.
Kickoff around 9:30.
The prop bets come out.
The what?
The prop bets, the fun bets, the things that you can actually bet on the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, heads or tails.
Heads or tails, length of the national anthem. So I've actually got some. Some of the ones that are on for this year. You got your coin toss, which you've got a 50% chance of winning. The length of the national anthem, over under 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So, you could bet
another
on
50-50 bet.
Right. Any player to kneel during the national anthem.
Numbers or?
Doesn't say. Just
or do you have to name them?
I think maybe you just say whether they will or not.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
well, what are your thoughts on that? Will they, won't they? This particular Super Bowl seems to have, including the halftime show, is all awash in political correctness and social justice warriors using it as a platform for one thing or another.
And I don't know, but I can say that the Patriots, I don't think that they ever had that as a controversy, only because they're a really tightly, run team. So I don't think Belichick, I don't think anybody really knelt anyway.
Kneeling that's a That's a 2017 issue, man. This year it really wasn't.
Yeah,
even an
it really
issue.
wasn't. And that's what I was going to say too. Is I was also going to say is that it felt like the Rams, like, that they were so new. Either like they're either too veteran, or they're all rookies and they weren't there the year before, so they don't really,
It's not their controversy.
Yeah, like they weren't the Eagles, they weren't the Niners, they weren't these teams who were known, to have several people every game kneel or put up the fist or whatever. So I don't think it'll be an issue, and because it is the Super Bowl, I don't think they'll even be shown if there is somebody kneeling. I don't think TV would do that. In-game bets,
not if they want people to watch it all the way through.
Yeah, if in the game bets, let's see here. A mention of Bill Belichick and Sean McVay's age gap, as McVay's 33, young enough to be one of Belichick's kids, who a couple of them are older than him. Belichick is 66. Let's see here. Any player throwing a football into the stands after a touchdown, you can bet on that. Brady seen cursing during the live broadcast. When things don't go his way, he's known to get a little heated on the sideline.
I hope I see a lot of that.
I do too, if you want them to lose like we do. A streaker during the game.
Oh, and then you've got the side bet, is it a boy or girl?
Right.
Yeah, so you can say, yes, there will be a streaker, it will be a boy.
You know what I've noticed is that there's less streakers in like naturally controlled environments.
Yeah.
Like streakers seem to be either in like extreme cold or outdoor baseball games, just in the boring, mundane days of summer, in the middle of the night or whatever, or middle of the
when
summer.
It's nice.
Right, but yeah, nobody really streaks in a dome. I guess maybe it's too comfortable.
Well, I mean, there's I don't know. I mean, just the idea that there's not far to go before somebody tackles you and arrests you.
You've been tackled on synthetic turf, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, that's
Few
why
times.
they don't do
It'll leave a mark, huh?
Yeah. There was one genius guy, and this is, we've deviated a little bit, but I think he streaked, or he didn't even streak. He just ran across the Cincinnati Reds outfield from the left field line, straight to center field, high-fived the center fielder, and then jumped the back fence, ran up the upper deck, had a car waiting for him.
Smart.
And then got away. So he got out of it. But like I said, that was a natural. I think that was in, like I said, in Cincinnati. Yeah. So I think that, towns like that, the field is actually on street level, so you can get out
I've
easier.
never done it. Remind me to ask Jerry Roberts. He's going to be in the studio tomorrow for the anniversary show brought to you by Take Care. But when he is in the studio tomorrow, we need to ask him about, he had bet another old broadcasting buddy of mine, one of my first bosses, a guy named Les Engelhart. He had this bet that Les would not streak from one end of the old administration building in Agania to the other end, and so the story is told that Les took the bet, got out of the car butt naked, and ran down the length of it. And Jerry was supposed to pick him up in the car and take him back to the radio station, but apparently there was like something stuck in a way, and Jerry didn't get there in time to get Les.
On purpose or what?
Well, it was a crazy, heady 70s days of broadcasting. I couldn't tell you whether it was on purpose or not, but would you trust Jerry to pick you up at the end of I had a couple of 100 yards there.
We had something like that happen to two of my buddies that in our crew in high school. One of them they were gonna moon the line to get into the movies.
Yep.
And just kind of drive by and moon. You just kind of cruise by the line, moon, and then just keep going. Well, the guy driving just let my buddy do it, and then he parked right in front of the line, got out of the car, locked it, and walked off over to the store next to the movies.
Yeah.
It just kind of left him standing there.
I think we all have a naked in public story.
Luckily,
one way or the other. I'm sure that there's between all of us here, except Kevin. Kevin has never ever been naked. He showers in that shirt. But I'm sure that Kevin doesn't have a naked in public story. But there's one that stands out in my head. Since we're sharing and everything, it was once upon a time we had the carnival was up in Gigo at a place called the Gigo Amusement Park, legendary now Gigo Amusement Park, and so you'd get in. There was one. We were all up there, and I think it was my buddy Ron had this big old Bronco, right? And so we piled like 20 people up in the car. We were goofing off, and this is 70, so we're all drinking beer, and so we get. We're up in between Gigo and Dedido, but still far, far away, and a lot of traffic getting up to it because this is back in the old 2-lane road days of the Marine Corps Drive up there. Anyways, and naturally, I had to relieve myself. So I said, open the door, and I will go to that telephone pole over there and relieve myself. And so I did. And I opened the door. I forgot, though, that Ron was a ever-ready kind of guy. He was a Boy Scout kind of guy, and he had this massive deer hunting light in the car. And shone that on me so that not only everybody in the Bronco could see what I was doing, everybody 5 or 6 cars up and 5 or 6 cars back could see what was going on. I got a new nickname that night, and I can't say it on the radio. But
we have tape of that incident, by the way.
Actual audio from that night.
I didn't think it survived back in those days. Listen, there's pretty good naked in public stories now, and I think the best ones are because they are now, and there is probably photographic evidence, with the proliferation of cell phones and things like that. A couple other Super Bowl notes that I've got for you. The Super Bowl numbers: 1.3 billion. Which is the number of chicken wings that will be eaten on Super Bowl Monday. 1.3 billion. So divide that in 2, and that will tell you how many actual chickens have died or have had their wings amputated just for the Super Bowl.
Do you know when archaeologists dig down to our layer some millions of years from now, they're going to think the Earth was inhabited by chickens?
Based on all of the stuff what an amazing business that is. I mean, just like I said, divide that number by 2, and it will give you the number of chickens that are going to 1.3 billion.
Glad I'm not a chicken.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people over at Walmart will be selling 2.6 million pounds or 246 miles of lunch meat will be sold just at the Walmarts.
Man.
Just there. 2.6 million pounds of cold cuts.
You know, that's what I miss. I miss the grocery stores with the deli counter and them. Seems like they were more prevalent back a long
I miss
time ago.
grocery stores where bread cost less than $4.
Didn't I tell you that yesterday? Because that's the second time I've heard you make that remark. And yesterday everybody said just buy the day-old stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's still too expensive.
It's still too. Make it yourself. Have you thought about that?
I don't have an oven.
You don't have an oven?
No.
No.
I'll get you a cast iron skillet.
My next door neighbor does, but then he pays an enormous light bill every month, and I was like, no, I don't want that.
You can make cornbred.
Get one of those solar gizmos. Go get one of those solar gizmos. Because look, there's millions and millions, billions of people probably that don't have access to electrified heat, and they can still make bread. They use the sun to do it, or they make a fire. Are you allowed to have a fire in your apartment?
Once.
just the one time, and then they kick you out after that, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
So pick your favorite bread recipe, the bread recipe that's going to be worth getting kicked out of the apartment. Pumpernickel, something like that. There's a guy. What's his name? Jeff. Go find Jeff over at the Fiesta Hotel. He's the boss of the Fiesta, and that's kind of a hobby that he has, is making his own bread. Oh. Yeah. So you might want to, he might actually have one of those solar oven recipes for you. Maybe, or the next big typhoon. We'll all be using solar ovens of one kind or another. And that was all I had for interesting football stuff.
I got a couple more interesting football stuff. I did not know until before the sports report today, that this is the number of Super Bowl rematches, including this one. I can run them down for you. The Patriots-Rams, I believe this is the second time that they've met. Other Super Bowl rematches, these teams have played more than once in Super Bowls. Dolphins-Redskins. Yeah. Steelers-Cowboys. Niners-Bengals. Cowboys-Bills. Patriots-Giants. And again, Patriots-Eagles. So Patriots 1, 2, 3 of the like the rematch retreads. And all of those quarterbacked, of course, in this era of Belichick and Brady. And then I also saw this one, which was really cool, just a little bit of the Super Bowl history. Number of previous Super Bowls played in Atlanta. Both previous Super Bowls played in Atlanta were now at the defunct Georgia Dome, which is my team. Won a Super Bowl there back in '93 when Dallas beat Buffalo handily, 30-13. And then the second one was actually the last time the Rams won a Super Bowl, was in the 1999 season. The Rams won their Super Bowl at the Georgia Dome then. And if you don't know, that's the Steve McNair Tennessee Titans game where the last play he stretched out. And he was like a yard short.
Yeah, Dyson didn't get it to.
Yeah, but
I was really happy about that.
Well, yeah, because you hate the Titans.
Yeah. To me, it was karma. It's you moved to Tennessee and you're 1 yard short.
His team pulled up stakes and left Houston and then became the Tennessee Titans, so I would hate them too.
And then 2 years later, go to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but that happened.
and then lose. Yeah. So, and then karma got them in more ways than one. Fisher never did anything. Their quarterback died.
Yeah, McNair.
He was killed by his mistress. Don't have mistresses. They'll kill you.
One way or the other.
Laughing about people getting killed.
Other mistresses.
This is a dark, dark day in the program.
Yeah.
Currently 8:29 in the morning, and almost 8:30, and that's almost about the rest of the time that we've got for you. Congratulations to the first players in the new IIG beach volleyball up at the place. I heard from one of the moms, and she said her daughter was just absolutely enjoying it. So that's nice to hear, and it looks like we've got this new sport that we'll be able to follow around, and more car line for the kids. And today, the last day to register for the Guam International Marathon at the current rates. Also, the last day to enter the Guam International Marathon while you can still get a customized
bib.
Yes, it's a whole other level of souvenir. And there if you go on the back of the running magazines, or if you just you can buy these mechanisms, these gizmos, right, that will hold all of your medals.
Oh yeah.
And now they're starting to make more of them that will hold your bib. So it's not just a commemorative, hey, I ran the Boston Marathon bib. It's the I run the Boston Marathon and it had my name on it bib, right? So those are the special ones that you want to save.
What's the character limit?
10 letters.
10 letters. Okay.
Yeah, 10
so
letters.
like already gone. You can't. You almost like a license plate. You got to be very clever with your abbreviations.
Exactly.
And your wordage.
There were some words that I wanted to use in Chamorro, but I couldn't make them fit. So I just went with the standard RAYGIBSON. So I'm using my name to customize the bib.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I wanted it to be big, damn it, but I don't think I was inside the limits there. Anyway, and in terms of 5Ks, if you want to get ready for the GIM, there is going to be a 5K. This is the one I'm going to be running at. It is going to be. Ooh, do I want to say now? Because there's guys for which I am their rabbit, and they're trying to beat me. So maybe
the hair.
Yeah, maybe I'm not. Well, I just do it for the publicity. Anyway, third annual Mace Get Fit Family Run Walk 2K 5K at the Agate Mayor's office. This is for the students of Marshall Sablon Elementary School, home of the stars. Showtime 5, go time 6. Pre-registration fee $8 for students, $10 for grown-ups, $35 for a group of 4, and $12 for everybody on race day. First 300 finishers will receive a Get Fit shirt.
Ooh,
nice.
Dry fit? Does it say?
I
Is
don't
it one
know.
of those snazzy dry fit, really nice?
If it's a dry fit, please use small logos. Don't paint too much on it, because otherwise it's like wearing plastic. I've got so many of these shirts, from people, and they've got these huge logos and big words on the front of it, and logos on the back of it. And then when you put the thing on, you realize your skin isn't breathing because you're, like I said, essentially wearing the plastic.
I have shirts like that where you can feel the logo on the outside of the shirt, just kind of weighing down on you a little bit.
Contact the school 565-2238 if you are interested, and I'll see you on race day. There is another one that's going on, I believe, on Teedson, and I'll get details on that for tomorrow.
I'm excited. So I won't be here tomorrow for the happy anniversary big 1-year show, but congrats to everybody all around.
Well, that's you too.
Yeah, me too. And Kevin and Mike and Bob and Daryl and you and Joe all in the afternoon. And also I'm excited because we do get one more show before the Super Bowl. We'll be here Monday morning. And
that's right.
So we'll be here actually right before, right? Like 30 minutes before kickoff or whatever. We'll get to talk. So.
Whatever time Kevin says.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
Isn't it a holiday on Monday?
Ooh.
For some.
Well, now we got a woman governor and a women-led legislature. What do you suppose the chances of getting just a day off on?
Are you insinuating that football is just a man's sport, Ray?
Didn't I do that yesterday?
I don't know. I'm just asking if you
I did, right? Because Shelley's looking for some place to go where she's not going to get scowled at when she walks in, and the answer is, well, then don't walk in. Frankly, we put all of the women in charge in this last election.
Yeah.
Should you be running the government or something? What are you doing here?
Why aren't you working?
Yeah.
Why aren't you working?
We're just here drinking beer and having frivolity and fun. But you guys are like, oh, we want to run the government. Ooh, girls run things. Yeah. So, okay, go run it. leave leave us alone with our beer and our cigars.
And football and wings.
8:34. They'll be waiting for me outside. I'm going to have to go to
Get up, it's Jesus Day.
They're going to take me to the Elizabeth Warren and the mental retraining camp. That's where all of us boys are going to end up anyway. It's 8:35. Okay, that's all the time. We got headlines with Kevin Kerrigan after these.
Introducing Exchanged, Guam's first online and mobile remittance to the Philippines. Exchanged is the easiest and fastest way to send money to your family and friends anywhere in the Philippines. Download the Exchanged app or visit their website, exchange.me. Sign up, remit, and get a chance to win a trip for two to Manila. Deluxe accommodations at the Belmont Hotel at Resorts World Manila. So sign up and remit now at Exchanged. Promo ends March 2nd, 2019. Conditions apply. Also avail of Exchange dollar to remit promo. Visit exchange.me for details.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to be the first one. I'm going to be the inaugural patient for the Elizabeth Warren, Susan B. Anthony, Ruth Bader Ginsburg male toxicity re-education camp. That's going to be my claim to fame in the future. It's 8:35. We better get me out of this. Kevin Kerrigan with headlines from the Guam Daily Post. Go.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. And the headlines from the Daily Post this morning. The legislature's Appropriations Committee hearing testimony yesterday on Senator Regine Bisco-Lee's Bill Number 1, which would increase the number of small businesses eligible for an exemption from the business privilege tax by raising the exemption from $40,000 now to $50,000 as long as the business's total income does not exceed $250,000. GITA Acting Administrator Melanie Mendiola cautioning that the change might violate current bond covenants that rely on the BBT. The breach of this covenant could lead to default, said Mendiola, which would have a broad financial impact on the government, she said. Mendiola said she would favor passage of the bill if language was added to reassure the bondholders that the revenue stream would not be interrupted. Senator Terlahi pointing out that the fiscal note on the bill projected a $1.3 million loss in revenue for the GovGuam General Fund as a result of the expansion of the BBT exemption. However, Mendiola said that raising the exemption could have an economic multiplier effect that would lead to job creation and stimulate revenue in other areas. The Civil Service Commission has ruled that the election-related allegations against teacher Andre Bynum are moot because he has resigned from the Guam Department of Education. Bynum, a former Simon Sanchez High School teacher, was chairman of the Political Action Committee Guamanians for Fair Government. Troy Torres filed the complaint against him back in September. Torres is the former communications director in the Calvo administration and the former campaign manager for former Senator Dennis Rodriguez's failed gubernatorial campaign. Torres said that Bynum had violated the Mini-Hatch Act, which forbids classified employees in GovGuam from organizing political campaigns and raising funds for political candidates. Guamanians for Fair Government was a political action committee that spearheaded the write-in campaign for the gubernatorial team of former Senator Frank Uggan Jr. and Alicia Limtiaco. During Tuesday's hearing before the Civil Service Commission, Guam DOE officials confirmed that Bynum had resigned effective January 25th. As a result, the Civil Service Personnel Management Director, Roland Fearon, said the investigation is now moot. A man charged with shooting a teenager in Agate in 2016 entered a plea of no contest in Superior Court yesterday. 24-year-old Calvin Jesus Anderson pleaded no contest to charges of aggravated assault and a special allegation of possession and use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony. As part of his plea deal, Anderson agreed to help GovGuam find the gun he used in the shooting. According to the court documents, 2 years ago, Anderson shortchanged a group of teenagers after buying alcohol for them. He then rode past the group when they were outside a home on Santa Cruz Street in Agate and shot and injured Sammy Ketty, that according to the plea agreement. Ketty was shot in the hip, underwent surgery, hospitalized for 2 weeks. He told police Anderson fired 4 to 7 times at him. Sentencing for Anderson has now been set for May 1st. He faces a possible term in prison of up to 25 years. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post.
iConnect time here, 8:38, and so yesterday the first public hearing held by the 35th Guam Legislature. I know that they've got another one for next Thursday. But it doesn't look like they're going to be entertaining any bills. Are you aware of any other public hearings that have been set by any other members of the committees?
Not right now.
And do we have any idea of when their first session might be at this time?
I heard the speaker, Tina Munoz Barnes, say it may not be until March.
Huh? What? With all of the stuff that they've got in front of them, I got 30 bills and only a couple now have had hearings.
Got a lot of confirmations.
A lot of confirmations, yeah,
and a lot of bills to hear.
Yeah. So, all right. So first session, they'll still be doing other things, as you say. All right. Gotcha. 8:39 in the morning, 888-825-5888-TALK. 888-8888 is the number for iConnect. 8:39 is iConnect time. Swing by an iConnect today and learn about the great packages, plans, and features they've got for your telecommunications needs in 2019. Push to talk mobile, even internet with iConnect.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for our all-new Ultimate Cheesy Garlic Bread. How would you like it?
I'll take a skeptical grandma.
Set in her ways?
A smidge.
Grandma, try this Ultimate Meatball Marinara made with Ultimate Cheesy Garlic Bread. Melted mozzarella, Parmesan, garlic butter spread. It's just like yours.
Like mine? My grandmother's recipe?
Try it.
You know, my grandmother's cheesy garlic bread was never all that.
Subway, make it what you want. Limited time only at participating restaurants.
In 20 minutes, it'll be 9 o'clock in the morning. Looking at traffic patterns right now, everything is back to normal. You're going to see some buildup of traffic at the major intersections, but I don't see anything that is slow today, at least right now. That might change. I mean, anybody get stuck in the traffic yesterday? It was crazy traffic, Route 8. Also hearing about crazy traffic on Marine Corps Drive. Somebody said it was like everybody got paid and left, right? In the middle of the afternoon. Okay, I got my paycheck. Let's get out of here. Let's boogie. Is it Friday yet? Sure felt like that on the roads, huh? 19 away from the top of the hour. That's right now traffic here on The Point.
Cheers to 80 years. It's our 80th anniversary and the gifts are on us. 80 gift certificates, 8 shopping sprees, 8 staycations, and 1 round-trip flyaway for 2 to Manila. So how do you enter? Calvo's Insurance personal home and auto customers are automatically entered. Non-Calvo's customers may enter by receiving a qualified quote. It's our way of saying thank you for trusting us for the past 80 years. For more details, visit calvos.com/giveaway or call 472-6816. Calvo's Insurance, serving Guam for 80 years.
Oh, hey, we got the boogie on now. Let me see what have I got on the Facebook Live. We did have a minor interruption in service on the Facebook Live, but it looks like everybody's come back. I see Tommy's there and Lady D, Commissioner Gamboa, and Rico Blancaflor, Renee Lau, Juan Flores, former superintendent of the Department of Education, Cody James, one of the boss jocks of air traffic control here on Guam. Cody, we are going to get connected so you can teach me about how it is that they taught you to help land planes. Juanita Machi and Flo Cruz, Ken LG, and Tommy Weinheimer, who just recently came to Guam and absolutely loves the island. Already plugged in with a lot of great members of the community and love seeing that. Cat Phillips-Uggan, Matkus Mendiola, and Lynn Vince Borja Polino, Vicente Beneventi. And then the last thing that you might find on the Points Facebook Live is a link. It is a clickable link that will take you to a report now that has been generated by members of the University of Guam community, led by Dr. Claire Ruane on corruption on Guam. And Doc joins me now. Good morning.
Good morning, Ray. How are you this morning?
You know what? I'm absolutely terrific. We're on the eve of the anniversary show brought to you by Take Care, and really excited about the prospect of having rejoined the talk radio world a year ago, and it's been fun.
It's been. This is your first year anniversary already.
Yeah. Well,
congrats.
It went by pretty quick too. Well, I mean, a lot of issues that we were already familiar with, that I was already familiar with, because they were the same things that I was chewing on when I was at K57. But there are some new things, and we're in an interesting new place in the history of Guam now, with a woman governor, women-led legislature, woman-run court system. As I've told people, in fact, I might have told you, look, if we can't get our problem solved right now, we might as well mail back the Organic Act. If we can't get our act together now with so much harmony of interest, if you will, then maybe we're not prepared for self-governments.
Well, there's a lot of opportunity to improve things right now, and maybe it's the womenness of the leadership that we have. But I mean, I think it's just there's a lot of opportunities. That's what we were highlighting with our report. That Guam is any place, and I just heard earlier that one of your callers was saying, corruption's everywhere, and it's true. Any place, most places are never at the top or the bottom, and that's where Guam is. Guam is always in the middle, which is kind of a nice place to be. There's room for improvement. We could certainly strive to be better. And of course, we're not as bad as the others that are on the bottom list. So it takes comfort for me.
Yes.
When we're in the middle, but you give yourself a pat, as we say. Sometimes it feels like we're the worst. We're not, but we could do better, and I always look forward to that opportunity. So that's what we're trying to measure in here. And when we produce this report, we certainly don't want to say it's the worst. We have no hope. That's far from the truth. In fact, if you go, I know you like the executive summary, but in the Appendix 2 is where we put Guam in the context of 107 other countries, including the U.S. And you'll see that in some places, actually, Guam fared better than other countries. So again, we also don't want to be complacent, thinking like, yay, we're doing well. I mean, there's, we should never be happy where we're at. I think there's just to strive to improve every day. I listen to Jerry Roberts all the time. Do something good every day. Why not? And so I'd like to set that up in the theme of this report in that context.
Well, and I appreciate that. Sometimes we tend to get down on ourselves around here. And I got a flash a second ago on our WhatsApp. Somebody saying, well, they had to do a survey to find out what the perceptions of corruption on Guam were. Heck, they could have just asked a couple of point listeners. Heck, they could have asked a couple of point hosts. As a matter of fact, I believe that there is corruption, and I think it's the worst kind of corruption. I think there's some of the corruption that I'm aware of is like corruption in plain sight. It's a hiding in plain sight. And almost a kind of snubbing our nose at some of the things that go on around here. And I don't know, and I think there's a lot of people that say, well, it's not really corruption as much as there's incompetence around here. We tend to sweep things under the rug and say, well, it's incompetence. And I'm going, no, and then don't hold anybody accountable. And I don't know that is part of a definition of corruption. And maybe, Doc, let's start there. How do you, for the purposes of this survey, how do we define corruption?
Okay, and that came up a lot at yesterday's press conference.
Yeah.
I don't want to invent things, so I always like to follow some organization that's already established and quite reputable. I do check their policies. I do check their board membership. I want to make sure that one country isn't running this organization. And so I traced back. The study was formatted after Transparency International, and this is the corruption watchdog internationally. Much like the Heritage Foundation is the one that watches democracy around the world. Mm-hmm. So I borrowed their definition. I don't want something very specific to any economies I'm studying, in this case, of course, Guam. So their definition is corruption is, and I want to read this correctly, and we actually provided this definition in the survey because when we're asking people about their perception, we want to know what we're talking about. So corruption is the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. And that's the definition. So we give a definition of that.
Can you repeat that? Abuse is what?
Abuse of entrusted power. So
Okay.
you put people in positions of power, and they will use that to gain privately from being in that position. And then we also give definition of grand corruption, acts committed at high levels of government that distort policies. So even inefficient, policies that lead to inefficiency really is corruption. I mean, so this is how I'm reading this. Mm-hmm. And again, people would read this different way. And as an economist, I always pay attention to inefficiency, or we have limited resources, we have limited time. You always have to really, really get the maximum that you could get out of that. So efficiency is important, and obviously we want to say do it as ethically as you can, or in general, do it ethically. So grand corruption and then petty corruption refers to everyday abuse of entrusted power by low and middle-level public officials, interactions with ordinary citizens, and so on. And then there's political corruption, which kind of crosses over grand corruption because it's political corruption is a manipulation of policies, institutions, and rules of procedure in the allocation of resources and financing by political decision makers who abuse their position to sustain their power, status, and wealth. And then we have a definition for transparency that
I can think of a headline for almost every single one of those definitions.
I know, and that was the tricky part when we were doing the survey because, this is the fun thing about being a social scientist. You're studying people, so it's not like an experiment in a vacuum where, everything's controlled and then you put in a stimulus and then you watch the reaction. So, but we were attuned to that. So when we were doing the survey, as soon as we announced it, in fact, there's chart 1 that talked about there were 4 reports that came out during the time we were doing this, and a survey was conducted between October the 8th to November the 18th of 2015. So the results should all be past tense. But when we were doing this, we tracked, so it was available online and in paper. And then we were tracking the responses or even attempts. Some attempts to take the survey were not completed. And then as the news came out in the headlines, we wanted to make sure, did people suddenly want to respond to the survey? And if they did so, we want to make sure that, of course, the response would be a bit exaggerated.
Yeah.
So we're measuring all these things. The other thing that sometimes people might forget sometimes polling is great, and it's convenient and very interesting. But when you're doing a sample, the sample needs, so we're based on a sample of 285 responses. It needs to represent, it needs to reflect the population, population of age 18 and older, and our respondents were residing on Guam. That was the target group. So we were careful to check, the age group and the income group, education levels, even the village of residences and so on. So we, I know this is the exciting part, but you got to check all these technical stuff.
Oh yeah, well, and I'm glad that you followed, some of the standards by which you can put together something where your report is meaningful. And we jump back into the executive summary. There's a couple of points there that stood out at me almost immediately. Is that political parties were viewed as the most corrupt?
All I could say is yes, that's what we found from the 285 respondents. I don't know why they say that. So I'm sorry, it's not the answer they're looking for. I don't know. That is the perception.
Just a mistrust of the powers that be in the Republican and the Democratic Party, and it is possible that people like Andre Bainum and Ken Leon Guerrero and Darrell Taggarty and others over the course of the last couple of years maybe have shown some light in inefficiencies or maybe just policies and practices of the political parties that people might view as corrupt.
The only thing is I think the timing might be a bit off. A lot of these things I remember a little bit more recently for the recent election.
Yes.
And, the respondents were in 2015. However, this is why you want to do this again in 2020. That is our plan to do it 5 years later. Transparency International, their cycle seems to be about 4-year cycle. And that's okay. We don't have to follow that completely. But, so it's interesting. Some of the results, again, reflect that this was 3 years ago. Because one of the other results that we found, speaking of the least corrupt, is, as you saw, the military and religious bodies, and I don't think we'll see that.
In the next iteration of this.
In the next cycle. So the timing is important, and that became kind of an issue. It's like, why'd you do this 3 years ago, and you're just releasing this report, and was there a big strategy, a conspiracy of some kind in terms of timing? And actually, it's not. It's, I did the survey. I've thought about this topic as an economist from a long time ago, and I hate to say this on the air, but I will. I grew up in the Philippines, and my family had a business, and we were subjected to some corruption.
Oh, I know people that live here that moved there. They're in a lock, stock, barrel business, moved it to Guam because they could not rely on being treated fairly by the government and the agencies in the Philippines because they knew that you build in money for the bribe, right?
And I, when we were running, my family was a large transportation company. We had a fleet of 35 buses that served the commercial to the financial district of Makati at the time. And my grandfather had to divest half of the fleet after martial law of 1972. And then by the time I finished my PhD, I actually went back and I took over my mom's share of the business, which were 3 buses. I had employees, 10 employees under me, mechanics and inspectors, drivers and conductors that issued the tickets. And 15% of my revenue had to go into, I hate to say it, so I'm admitting I was engaged in bribery because, you know, the cops, every Monday, they expect some payment from us. Otherwise, we can't line up in this, like a bus stop, and we get shooed away. So you line up there and you fill up with passengers, and then you take them to places, right, and use up gas and so on. Well, if you don't do that, then you can't line up there, and then you're running your bus kind of empty and just picking up passengers.
Yeah, so the bribes were a part of the fixed cost of doing business.
Unfortunately, that became the reality, and so I'm very, you know, I've lived the situation of corruption, and I realize it's everywhere and at different levels, but it's also something I feel very strongly about. Part of it is a little bit more professional. You know, I wanted to cross over to our Masters in Public Administration program, and, you know, I wanted to find a topic that links economics with public administration, and this topic came up. So, you know, so that started my research more in 2014. We gathered the data in 15. But I wanted to tell you why it took 3 years to write the report. As you know, I was sick for about 2 years. Yeah. I was trying to get better. So there's no, you know, it's not a timing of, you know, why didn't you read?
Well, yeah, so if anybody looks at it and says, oh, this is all about the Calvo administration, no, it's not. I mean, there were other things that were taking place. I'm interested, though, when we're talking about different organizations or different entities here that were viewed as corrupt or not corrupt. We've got obviously the political parties, religious, military institution, nonprofit organizations. Did anybody look at academia? Has that entity been studied in terms of corruption?
No, actually, that was one of the.
Was it?
That was one of the institutions. Yes, and it's, you know, so let me see. I know it's one of the institutions.
I'll look it up. I was just wondering if it was in there because it wasn't mentioned in the executive summary. Now this is.
Sorry, Ray. Just above religious bodies, fourth from the bottom, education system.
Okay, I'll look into that. People prefer less risky actions against corruption, and this is the other takeaway. And I suppose that, you know, there are some people that will turn away from corruption and turn a blind eye towards it because they're worried about retaliation.
Yes.
For blowing a whistle.
I agree. Most people would feel that way. And then economists like me, there is a theory of free rider, which is, you know, such a common concept. So if I think you're going to report it, why should I stick my neck out and report? I'll just wait for you to report it. And then all of us are waiting for each other. No, it's very risky to do so. And, you know, it's a small community as well. Retaliation comes in different forms. And, you know, I have to admit, even to publish this report, you know, I don't know what it means in terms of, I don't want to hype it, but my personal safety, I mean, is it an issue that we've written this report? The academic in me, the researcher in me said that, you know, 3 years ago we promised to do the survey. We have 285, actually 461 people that looked at it and attempted the survey. And we promised we were going to release this report for them. I mean, what was the point of gathering their data? Yeah. If it's, you know, so I have. My team.
Well, I mean, you're not the U.S. attorney. You're not the attorney general. You're not making accusations against any of these institutions or the people that run them. You're reporting on the perception of the community as to whether Guam is corrupt or not. And according to the results of this survey, people view corruption as a serious problem here.
Yes, and thank you. Well said, Ray. Thank you. I need to have you as co-author next time.
Well, I don't want you to be, it's not like you're blowing a whistle on anything. I think one of the things that we talk about here is that there are people that prefer less risky action. That is, let somebody else take care of it, or let's prevent it in the first place, which is one of the last findings here of the report, is we need more transparency. We need to enforce accountability in the institutions that we have here.
Yes. And in fact, if you look at, in terms of the other feedback, there's Appendix 1 you'd appreciate, because we did ask people to have a write-in. You know, it's almost like a ballot, to have a write-in, and we asked them, what other actions would you recommend? And so I gathered those comments, and I actually included them in that appendix in verbatim form, so with all the typos, with all the grammatical errors and so on. So this is the pulse of the island. We did try to make sure that this reflects the entire population, age 18 and older, living on Guam in 2015. Okay, so transparency is important. What's my role as a professor? Well, I know I'm very strict on academic honesty. I developed that. I tried to instill that on my students. We tried to instill that as parents, raising our children. So, first day of the class, I spend an hour going over what is lightly called a course syllabus. I call it a contract. This is my contract with my students, and one of the things is academic honesty. And I tell them, if you're ever dishonest in this class, and there are different forms, you cheated on the exam, you plagiarized this and that, I will fail you in a heartbeat. You fail the class right away.
You have to be held accountable for your actions, even in school. I got to run. I got the news coming up here, but I really appreciate you joining me on the program for this. I mean, I think it's an important piece of research that you've conducted, if for no other reason to create some kind of a baseline, and we'll look at it again in a couple of years and see if this new administration, this new time that we're in right now, changes people's perception.
And we always hope that would be the case. We just want to get better all the time. So thank you, Ray, for having me, and enjoy this day. It's a wonderful day.
It's certainly starting out that way. 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll see you soon, Doc. Radio station is KUSG Hagutnya. My name is Ray Gibson. Coming up next hour, General Agagi is going to be in the program. What a delight that's going to be. Stick around, Brown.
The cold turning deadly. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Extreme weather in the Midwest and Plains claiming at least 8 lives, and snow squalls in the Northeast causing chain reaction crashes. Fox's Steve Rappaport has more live.
The deep freeze is so bad that temperatures in the region are lower than in parts of Antarctica. In Minneapolis, today's high hit a balmy 15 degrees below zero.
It's like hard to take a breath in. It's affecting my lungs a little bit.
Governors in 3 states declaring emergencies, hundreds of schools canceling classes. Purdue University President Mitch Daniels.
The real danger, we thought, to students was protracted periods moving around outside. Students can't avoid that.
Officials in several cities are focused on protecting the homeless and other vulnerable people from the wicked elements. Lisa?
Steve, the first day of talks for a bipartisan group of lawmakers as they try to come up with a plan for border security. Fox's Jared Halpern live on Capitol Hill.
17 lawmakers, Republicans and Democrats in the House and the Senate, are on the clock to find common ground on border security funding.
Smart border security is not overly reliant on physical barriers.
House Appropriations Committee Chairwoman Nita Lowey argues physical barriers are not cost-effective compared with technology upgrades, but top Senate appropriator Republican Richard Shelby says a solution must be comprehensive, and that includes barriers.
It is a common sense, I believe, all of the above solution to a problem.
And President Trump, before negotiators met, warned if they aren't considering a wall, they're wasting their time. Lisa.
Jared, a bipartisan group of senators say they will urge European countries to recognize Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido as that country's interim president. The European Union's foreign policy chief has said that if disputed President Nicolas Maduro doesn't announce a new presidential election in the next few days, the EU will take further actions. This is Fox News.
There's a reason every day a Guam homeowner is getting a solar system installed by Micronesia Renewable Energy. It's because MRE is the most trusted name in solar. With more solar energy solutions than any other solar company on island, homeowners have a choice to go solar for zero money down or take the path to ownership. Whichever way, it keeps our skies blue and your pockets green. And with the most experienced solar technicians and an energy production guarantee, there are no worries. Call 632-2613 for a free consultation. MRE, the smarter choice.
Every time I travel, there's something from home that I can't leave without. I take my Docomo Pacific data to go to share my stories in Taiwan, check subway routes in Tokyo, be my food guide in Hong Kong, meet new friends in the Philippines, make updates in the States, find my way around Korea, and check out all the cool shows in Singapore. It's the data I have in all the places I love for only $10 a day. Data to go from Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Florida police and the FBI discover an underground tunnel that leads right to a bank branch.
The would-be bank heist gone bust discovered before completion and before any cash had been stolen. In fact, whoever has been digging this tunnel had yet to make it all the way underneath the street into the bank. This is very much an active scene. The FBI is right there on the scene right now, as well as local authorities, with a backhoe and a bulldozer currently digging that tunnel up. The entrance of the tunnel is hidden in a cluster of trees in the grass, which then goes underneath the two-lane Flamingo Road, on the other side of which is the Chase Bank.
Fox's Phil Keating. Google says it's disabled an iPhone app that it paid some users to install to study their digital habits, following a similar move by Facebook late yesterday. Security will be tight for Sunday's Super Bowl.
NFL security chief Kathy Lanier says safety for the Patriots-Rams game is not at risk.
Even through the federal shutdown, we never missed a beat.
More than 65 agencies make up the security team, and while they won't be specific about tactics, Atlanta Police Chief Erica Shields said you'll see plenty of officers. And
we also are relying heavily on technology, and everyone that has come to the table has brought some shape or form of that for us to leverage.
Atlanta is hosting its third Super Bowl, but the first in the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Don't let me down. The Beatles' farewell documentary, Let It Be, getting a reinvention. Lord of the Rings director Peter Jackson has announced he's making a new film out of about 55 hours of footage shot in January 1969 that's never been seen by the public. The original movie came out in 1970, soon after the Beatles broke up. No release date is set. There's also a plan to remaster the original film. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
Guam Regional Medical City. We bring the healthcare advances of the world directly to you. We are an acute care hospital that complements your needs with our robust outpatient specialty clinics. From preventative care to critical care, we strive for consistent excellence at GRMC. Our core philosophy is where patients are partners, which means we work as a team to make a healthier version of you. For more information about GRMC, visit us at grmc.gu.
It's 5 after 9 o'clock in the morning. The Ray Gibson Show, and portions of which brought to you by my friends over at King's. Decades worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're really good at it. And we want you to go and eat there today. Portions of the program also brought to you by Guam Regional Medical City, the first choice for your specialty care needs. Micronesia Renewable Energy. Never been a better time to go solar. And, of course, the guys over at American President Lines, where they're shipping the future.
Security Title is honored to sponsor Ray Gibson on The Point. In 2019, we resolved to continue our mission of protecting and ensuring the land and homes of our beautiful island. Additionally, we resolved to maintain our vital connection to our families and our community. Protehi Itanomo, protect your land. When it comes to your family land, remember to call the professionals at Security Title, just like you call Ray Gibson in the morning.
Hey, how much you spending on your insurance policies these days? You know, probably the answer is probably going to be, wow, too much, Ray. Can I? Do you know a way I can get a break? The answer is yes. Call Nanbo Insurance. They've got a thing called the Bundle Up Plan, and depending on what it is that you're trying to insure, all the things that you want to take care of, you might be able to save up to 50% on your insurance bill for 2019. Start off with a phone call 477-9754, 477-9754 at Nanbo Insurance.
News to fill your mind. Talk to get it out. The Ray Gibson Show.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy, and here it is, 7 after 9 o'clock in the morning, and you know, just since the election and since the inaugurations and everything, it just seems to me that there have been so many headline-worthy moments that we have had around here. And the other day, I was looking at something, and they said, "Hey, guess who's going to be the new tag over at the Guard?" And I said, "Who?" And they said, "Esther." So now it's General Esther Agagi, and congratulations.
Well, thank you, Ray. I'm so delighted to be here, and thank you for the invitation to join you on this wonderful program. Sometimes I listen and I get so jealous because it seems like you have fun all the time.
Oh, that's my deal. That's my deal. It's if I don't want to do this job unless I can have fun, you know. And I'm sure the same thing can be said about these high-level positions that you've got in the Guam National Guard.
Well, you know, a job is a job, but if you enjoy your job, it doesn't become work.
I don't think they give general positions to people that don't like what they're doing, you know. Otherwise, it's like, oh, here comes General Sourpuss again.
Oh, no, not in this case.
Yeah,
not in this case. I'm just absolutely delighted to be a part of the military, and the Guam National Guard has actually added to the value of my outlook on life.
We'll talk about that because it's not just the job, and you know there's at the general level I think there's a 24/7 deal that you kind of live in it, so it does become kind of its own lifestyle. You find yourself surrounded by other people in uniform and with, you know, as I say, the harmony of interest. Major Joe Bloss is in the studio.
Good morning.
Good to have you, and thanks for setting things up with the general.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't know how much time we're going to have this morning. Usually we go until till I stop having fun. But as she just said, you know, Ray has fun all the time. So let me bring things back. So how did you find out that Governor Leon Guerrero had her eye on you to become the next tag?
So I was under consideration for a while, and so the vetting process had to begin because you have to be very selective. You have to make sure that the candidate you're looking at is going to meet intent, the intent of the governor, of course, and carry on the mission. And as you may know, the Guam National Guard has 3 missions. We have a federal mission, and that mission is to provide combat-ready units to fight and win with our nation's wars.
And you've done that.
I've done that. And then our other mission is our state mission. And that's where we protect life, property, and preserve peace, order, and public safety. And we've done that too.
I've seen at the intersections after the typhoons.
Yes. And then the third mission, we have a community mission. Yeah. And we are obligated to provide support to the local programs that add value to this community. And I think not only me, but everyone in this room have performed those missions. And so
we've in military terms, we've chewed on the same public service ground from time to time, but there is so much to that job, and one of the things that I've found that has become a priority, and I know this from fact. Mana, my sister, is married to has got Phil is a uniform wearing guy, and so I'm familiar with a lot of the sacrifices. So there's 2 ways that I've always tried to be a part or to ingratiate myself into that community. And one of them is to just be supportive of my brother-in-law, and in the deployment and in his missions, and my sister, and help out with the family units, the family support, right? What's the name of the organization that you guys?
Family Readiness Group.
Family Readiness Group. So helping out. I love them, and I can't remember the name of the group, but it's just natural. Hey, we got a fundraiser, over at venue. Okay, I'm there, right? So I want to always support that. Plus the employer support of the Guard and Reserve, and I've been a fan of that for a long time, and help out every chance I get.
Well, thank you. Your efforts do not go unnoticed. And I would tell you, Ray,
if I can buy gas, can I buy gas at the shopette now?
Well, how about
see that?
Let's save that for another discussion.
That I'm requiring. Okay, can I go to the gym? Can I use your gym? See, we were talking earlier about how I should have gotten started when I was 18, right? And the guy from the recruiting office was calling me all the time until my mom answered the phone and chewed him out, so he stopped calling me. But I would have been out by now. I would have been like Rod and Dyron. I've been out.
And you would have probably been the adjutant general. Imagine that.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I still in all, I do every once in a while I'll do that what if scenario and think about where I'd be right now, and the answer is at the shopette or at the gym, hanging out, right, and doing all of that stuff. But just a couple of the sidelines of the organization. So there are always big shoes to fill, filling in these positions, being the new person in that job. Rod had it, and he got it from Major Benny, and Major Benny got it from Goldie, and so there's been this long progression. So what is it that you want to add now to that office?
Well, I'd love to carry on the wonderful heritage and tradition that our National Guard organization is so well known for. It's a world-class organization. A great organization to be in. But what I'd like to bring forward, some of Governor Leon Guerrero's initiatives. And we're looking at increasing diversity and opportunities in the National Guard. We'd like to know that we are competitive. We'd like to know that we remain relevant, and we remain available for the governor in the event she should need support to community missions.
Well, I think those are important. I think there's certainly important goals. Is there a lack of diversity in our Guard?
Oh, we have diversity.
I mean, I was going to say I've got 2 female Guard members in here. One of them is a general.
Sure, we have diversity, but there's always room for improvement. We could always increase it, And I think we have a broad spectrum of which to look at and tap on. And one of my passions, Ray, is talent management. You know, we are coming of age. We are in the information age. Yeah. And, you know, if you don't adjust to change, you know, you could be left behind. And I think it's a fresh perspective to tap on talent management. You know, look at the people who have the skill sets to bring us forward. It's probably an uncharted territory, but I feel it's well worth exploring. And so I'm sure that could fall under increasing diversity and also increasing opportunities in the Guard so that we can give everyone an equal opportunity to serve.
Are there more squadrons coming in? And forgive me again, I forgot to join the military, so I'm probably going to use the wrong words, but you know, it seems to me that before there were THAAD missiles as an example. Sure. I mean, that's our people that are running the THAAD program on Guam now, right?
Absolutely. Well, actually, they're not running the THAAD program. We're going to be in charge of the security forces mission. So
I see.
We're going to be the if you want to say the cops that are going to be protecting the THAAD.
That's 368 guys. Is that the...
No. It's the battalion unit that was just mobilized. So they're the ones that are going to be taking over the security forces mission.
I see.
368 is reserves.
Reserves. Oh, and right. There's a bunch of different organizations in my head, and that's got to be the first thing. If I was ever to be the general, is to try to figure out all of the different things that we do and the different subcategories that we have in the Guard family that we have here on Guam. There's so many different missions out there. But are there other? When we talk about other technologies, other opportunities, it wasn't long ago that we weren't doing helicopter drills up at Radio Barragata, right?
Absolutely. That came in about 2015. Our helicopters arrived, and just last year we started performing the mission. And I think our soldiers have been making a huge impact to the search and rescue mission.
So so that's the question that I want to ask. You know, what are some of these other mission opportunities that are going to be coming up? What is it that's on the desk right now and you're looking at saying, yeah, that's going to be great for Guam. It'll be great for our region once we've brought in enough people and trained them to be able to do some of these jobs.
Absolutely. You know, we're looking at opportunities with Space Command, and that is great. We you know, they're looking at Guam as you know, we are in a strategic location.
Yes.
And that is undeniable. And so we're looking at opportunities with Space Command to see if Guam, you know, can contribute to the national strategy to see, you know, how can we protect our borders. And so Guam is definitely, you know, a forerunner for that decision. And we're very excited.
Can you tell me about how we are going to be Space Patrol?
Well, it's not really. It's so the Air National Guard up in Anderson, our Guam Guard, we're petitioning. We were one of 5 squadrons. So in the Air Guard, we call them squadrons.
Okay.
That is being considered to host one of the space control squadrons, one of 5 around the world. So we're hoping Lieutenant General Rice, he's our 3-star director of the Air National Guard. He'll be here next month, and we're hoping he's going to provide.
Can you bring him?
Sure, we can. We can very well.
We
can very well try to set that up.
Yeah, I mean, because it sounds.
We don't know if we're selected yet, but we're hoping that that's why he's coming.
But there's so many. There's so. I mean, Trump was talking about putting together a space force here, and I was on the phone earlier today with former Senator Ada, now the boss of the Guam International Airport, and they are being courted there to become a spaceport, and the way that would work, and people still have not yet gotten the concept. In we're not going to be launching satellite rockets from the Guam International Airport. What we're going to do is we're going to take a rocket, strap it to the belly of a 747, and then take that up to about 35,000 feet, and then we're going to fire the rocket off. So it doesn't have to break the surly bonds of gravity down here. It should be a whole lot easier to shoot it straight across and place it into orbit from there. That's the idea behind this. And now you're telling me that there is going to be an Air Guard component
we're hoping. Like I said, we were one of 5 selected, and last year they were doing some site inspections, and so we're hoping. We're definitely crossing our fingers because that's a future that definitely our younger airmen can
But what are we going to do?
We would be similar to, remember we had the NASA tracking station? It'll be similar
when
to
we were,
that.
yeah, when all of us were little kids, yeah.
Sure. Right. So as we evolve in space, you know, we want to be involved in that. So a lot of our airmen that are into computers and, you know, the different technologies, we're hoping to get them involved. So we're crossing our fingers because that's an 88 personnel squadron. So that would definitely help grow the Air Guard.
And that was more to the point of the question that I was asking. Are there going to be openings in the Guard soon so you get more talent to manage?
Opportunities, talent management.
And then so we've got the sexy space command thing, but there's still other work that needs to get done. And as I mentioned, the 368, I had an opportunity once upon a time to go hang out with those guys in Okinawa and in Tokyo, and I'm sure that you've seen this as well in your travels and in your deployment. Is you start talking to base commanders and guys that are running things, and they love it when the Guam guys and girls come out.
Absolutely,
because there is a certain sense of half a day. There's a certain, you know, it's all the island guys. Number one, all the island guys get together. They're all just like, we can see each other and we know what we're cooking and we know what we're barbecuing and who's bringing the paper products and who's bringing the meat and who's actually going to be cooking it. It will always be the Chamorro guys, by the way, that will be doing the cooking and the bar. Yes, right? And so they all get together. But I remember I was in Japan. I was talking to one of the base commander's wives, and she was remarking about how she liked to get onto the base because it wasn't just, you know, a guy saluting at the front. They put a little bit of Hoffa spirit in generally everything that they did, and so our men and women welcomed on the base.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So was it just more of those kinds of things and more opportunities to get them out there and deployed? So tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into this game?
Well, so my story, you know, my dad was in the Air Force, and I always admired a person in uniform. I always wanted to be like him.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be like my dad, and so I did everything I could to be just like him. And so I
ROTC? Did you do
no?
ROTC?
As a matter of fact, no. So soon, just not too long after I graduated from high school, I announced that I was interested in joining the military. I thought I was going to get pushback. But instead, I received favorable, responses from both my parents. But there was conditions. You got to get a college degree, and after the college degree, you can go.
But depending on who you sign up with, they'll get you into college.
Right. So this is what got me into trouble. So I didn't know. So at that, you're in high school, you're having fun. So I didn't know that Father Duenas was only for guys.
Oh.
Yes, I didn't know that. So entering ninth grade, I actually asked my dad, I want to go to Father Duenas, and he was trying to explain to me, we can't do that because that school's only for boys. And
the only time at Father Duenas, the only time that girls were allowed in the classroom was summer school, and I know this because I attended summer school every year when I was at Father Duenas. But
yeah, so after that question, he said, no, you can't go there because it's only for boys, and I said, what's wrong with that? I can still go with the boys. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think from that day forward, he said, I need to keep tabs on you because I can't let my eyes off of you because you might do things that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
So the restrictions, okay, you can't do that until you're done. You need to get a college degree. So I got my college degree, and then I joined the Air Force Reserve.
Right.
Yeah. So because at that time, I got the job to teach, but I still wanted to be in the military, and I said, shoot, why can't I do both? Mm-hmm. And I did both. And I did both for a while. Yeah. And then an opportunity came up to go transfer into the Air National Guard. So I did. I went across the street and went there and met everyone. And then I left as the first female sergeant of the Air National Guard.
Okay.
And I believe I still am the only first sergeant.
Oh, really?
Female first sergeant from the Air National Guard.
That's a big deal. It's a big distinction.
Well, it's great. It was one of the best jobs I've ever had.
How many doors opened as a result of that?
Many.
See, that's the thing is, especially you get some of these kids and they think in very clear, straight lines about what their options are in the military. Sure. But you put something into it and you put some effort into it and distinguish yourself in a couple of places, and then pretty soon people start looking at it and saying that Aggie girl, she's got it going on.
Yeah, pretty much. I was colorblind, and I was rank blind, and I was gender blind. I didn't know that there was a difference. All I knew was that there was a mission to perform, and I wanted to do this mission, and I wanted to help. And as a result of being in the Air National Guard, I didn't know that there was a sister company to that, and that was the Army National Guard. And it was General Polino.
Yeah.
Major General Benny Polino had a campaign platform to fill some severe shortages with our officers in the Army National Guard. And he looked for everyone who had a degree, and I was on that list.
Yep.
And he asked me to come see him and said, hey, how would you like to transfer from the Air National Guard to the Army National Guard? And when you're looking at a 2-star general and he's asking you, how would you like it? My answer to him was, General, I would love nothing more than to transfer from the Air National Guard to the Army National Guard. And I said it with a lot of zest and enthusiasm. 8 months later, I got a direct commission, and I went from an enlisted soldier, enlisted airman, into a commissioned officer.
And so what rank did they give you on the way in?
It was a second lieutenant.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just
so you
from the bottom.
Progression.
From the bottom.
So
Yes,
it sounds like, you know, gender blind and service blind as well. I mean, there was a mission to be done, and there was a mission that you could have fulfilled under General Benny Polino as a lieutenant in the Guam National Guard, Army Guard.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So if I want to make sure I've got all of that stuff right, and so there are obviously more opportunities that opened up again after that.
Absolutely. So, performing, I was his aide de camp. So I got to carry his briefcase, and I got to run around with him. And I tell you, Ray, when you hold the briefcase or anything that belongs to a general officer, there's just something that overcomes you. You become this different person. And I was like, oh, I can't wait till I can, I can see the benefits of.
But I got to tell you, I mean, that culture, and there might be people like, me, lifelong civilians, where I'm going, I see it, but I don't really get it. I mean, that's just a guy. It's and I've been criticized many times for referring to General Goldhorn as Goldie, but that's because that's how I knew him at the Rotary Club, right? Sure. But if I say that, I'd say that at the Guard headquarters, and people would look at me like I said a curse word. What? No, you call him General. I said I did call him General when I saw him. I said, hi, General. And then after that, it's just Goldie, right?
Sure. But see, you can do that.
I can do that.
You can do that. Yeah, sure. So, the military is very disciplined. And we're disciplined to recognize and to respect the rank.
Major Joe, is that correct?
That is very correct.
Okay, just checking.
So, you not many people get very many opportunities to be in the presence of a general. And so when you have the opportunity to do that, the world is good.
Rod and I were classmates, right? General Rod and I were classmates. So it's like, yeah, okay, big deal. He's a general. I'm just playing around, Rod. You and Darren and guys that I Mark Calvo, et cetera, a bunch of guys that we went to school with, and I just the degree to which they've distinguished themselves with all of those opportunities is exciting. What's your advice to young ladies that might be in college right now or thinking about graduating from high school? What's your advice to them?
It's okay to color outside of the box.
It's words to live by.
Amen.
Yeah. So just take a look and see how it's being done in other places, and then don't do that. Do it your own way.
Absolutely.
So is there anything that you've done in the military, in your service in the military, that was made easier because you were a kid from Guam?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything I did was made easier from just growing up. Being a Southern girl. That adds a little more restrictions and a little more respect to everything you do. You see things differently, and then of course, growing up in Guam, we've got island pride.
Yeah.
And so the idea is profound, and so that's probably why anywhere you see a Guam soldier, a Guam airman, anyone from Guam, we resonate. And we have a very good reputation no matter where we go in the world.
Well, any two or three. And you've been around the round world, haven't you?
I've been around.
Yeah?
A little bit.
So tell me about some of the deployments that you've been on.
I've been to Afghanistan, and then I had it was an exercise in the Philippines, but both were just as equally exciting and worthwhile. Because, I believe that, we're not here for ourselves, Ray. We're actually here to help someone else.
You know,
I
and
believe
there are certain people in the community and in the population of the United States that say maybe we need to not be so worried about other people and some of the problems that they go through. We've got our own issues that we've got to muddle through as well in the United States of America, and maybe even Guam. So if they've got problems in Afghanistan, maybe the Afghanis need to resolve those issues on their own.
Sure. However, you know,
but you don't get into the politics of it.
Well, what they do there has an effect on what we do here. And so, you know, world peace is an idea that everyone aspires for. And what a wonderful world it would be if we could have world peace. But, you know, we have to start with ourselves.
Well, we have to. I think you project peace by being strong.
Absolutely.
And so we maintain, you know, strength and a depth of talent and the ability to be able to defend ourselves and if necessary, go after some bad guys. And we've certainly seen some of those opportunities. You know, they're talking about pulling out of Afghanistan. I guess that's the decision has been made, and it looks like Syria is going to be on their own. Does that mean that there will be? I mean, I don't know specifically when and where and all of that, but to the degree that that there might be some pulling back, if you will, on some of these conflict areas that we are involved in. Does that change the number of people that can join your mission at the Guard?
Actually, I believe it actually increases our responsibilities. Absolutely, and maybe Major Joe Blas can talk a little bit about that. I know we're growing.
Yeah,
we've definitely grown from the time I came into the
Because I was always kind of
National
worried
Guard.
about that. You know, when we were in the Gulf Wars and all of this stuff, and we got to go get Osama bin Laden, and I'm thinking at some point we're going to win all of these different warlets that we're in, and then you know they'll go back to relying more on regular I want to say enlisted soldiers versus the Guard and Reservists that we have.
So one of our primary missions, and then I'll let Major Blas step in, is, you know, we want to be fit to fight, and we want to be ready to fight tonight. So readiness is a huge effort we put forward. You know, we have to be physically, mentally, and emotionally ready to protect and preserve peace.
Well, I see the convoys all the time. I certainly see the convoys, but on the point of you know, the ramping down, if you will, of certain hostilities around the planet, does that change the makeup of or the personnel needs of the Guard and Reserve here?
I think the ramping down in the Middle East has just increased the ramping up in our area. So our area has become like the tag said earlier. It's become more relevant. So like with China and Russia and Korea, you know, we're still keeping our eye on that. So this area has become more relevant. And
just the first chain of islands between China and the Philippines and Vietnam, and the potential for conflict there.
Right, there's a lot of talk about ramping up here rather than ramping down. So we've been trying to get our foot in the door on everything when it comes to ramping up, because we want the Guard to be right there in the mix with everything. So,
well, tip of the spear for sure.
Tip of the spear, you know, and that's what brought about this possible Space Control Squadron mission. You know, here, Hawaii, Alaska, we're ramping up because this is now the highlight of, you know, where everything is coming.
Yeah.
So even if we're ramping down there, I don't think we're going to slow down here at all. In fact, lately our missions have been increasing, so I don't think we're going to slow down.
I kind of have noticed that. I've noticed that as well. A couple of other thoughts while I've got you, and as I say, I recognize that you've got a couple of things to take care of today. Congresswoman Madeline Zebradalio, in the 16 years that she was in Washington, D.C. As our delegate, it seemed to me that she had a soft spot in her heart for the Guard and the Reserve here on Guam, and we're in a transitional phase, and she's going to continue to be a figure in Washington, D.C., though, as the liaison for the governor's office. But have you had an opportunity to talk to your new delegate in Washington, D.C. to learn about different ways that they might be able to help you? Not yet?
We have not yet, but, you know, we look forward to doing that because, like you said...
he's not in the Armed Services Committee, but, you know, he's still the guy in D.C.
He's still the guy in D.C.
help carry the water for the Guard.
Yes, Congresswoman Berdalio, in her time as our delegate, just helped the Guard grow. I mean, when they used to bring the Codells to Guam, they would talk about how great our facilities look, and some of their facilities were like since the 1600s.
Yeah, well, I drive by your facility all the time. It seems like you're all, you know, in the last couple of years, you guys have been adding to it and adding to it.
She was a great advocate. In fact, on Monday we're going to be cutting the ribbon on our newest facility to support our aviation mission.
Where's that going to be at?
It's going to be so if you're looking at our facility, it's going to be. You
Will I be
probably
able to
can't
see it from the road?
Not from the road.
How about if I'm on radio? on the Radio Barragata side?
Close to the reserves, you could see it. It's the building to the left.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
if
be
you're
on
at the gas station, it's far in the back. It's behind our CSMS, which is our largest facility there. But you can't really see it. But that's where our
you can give me a tour. So, what was your favorite thing? I mean, in all of the years that you've been in the service, have you decided that you look back and everything, you go, this was the best time when I was a blank in the blank?
Oh, gosh, there's so many, Ray. I have 33 years of military experience, and I can tell you each one, whether it was,
I mean, even Afghanistan?
Even Afghanistan. Actually, deployment was actually one of the highlights. Reason for that is because you actually are able to apply all the training that you have been performing throughout the years to your real mission.
Did anybody ever shoot at you?
No.
Okay. Did you ever shoot at anybody?
No.
Really?
Really. So my MOS doesn't allow me to do that. So I can
You're
see.
not a chaplain.
I can see the bad guys, but the bad guys can't see me.
Oh, I see. So it's always kind of interesting to think about how you would react and what it would be like for you if you were deployed far away or nearby. I want to say we sent folks from the Guard up to Saipan, right?
We did.
Yeah. And then there's all these other nearby missions that we have. And one of my favorite ones, and I remember it was August last year that you and I were talking. I said, is anybody going to be going out to Korea? And I guess they held off on the war games they were doing because we were starting to make nice with the North Koreans.
That's correct. We did go out to Korea, but it was strictly training, and we didn't really do any exercises out there. So. But we were there.
Right.
And we'll continue to be there. But, of course, we're going to follow the guidance of our commander-in-chief, the leadership up in Washington to do what we need to do to perform our mission to help the overall good.
Right. There was a question from a listener who wanted to know how you jumped from lieutenant colonel to a general, and you had a brief explanation about how that's possible.
Sure. So it's basically the title, Ray, and the title is the adjutant general. And the lieutenant colonel is the rank. So 10 Guam Code annotated allows the commander-in-chief to select, the best candidate to lead the National Guard. And so, the minimal qualifications are lieutenant colonel, who is promotable.
That's you.
And that's me. And so, promotable defined is if you have the time and grade, the number of years you've been a lieutenant colonel. And so, the law allows the governor to have a range of selections because sometimes if you limit the governor's selection, it will defeat the purpose or be counterproductive to how she wants to move forward with the National Guard.
So one of the other first things that you're going to have to do here is to fill the hole that you just vacated.
Yes.
I mean, you're talent management. You have to find somebody to replace you in the role that you had.
Absolutely. Well, luckily, we have a huge pool of talent management in the Guam National Guard.
I've heard.
Huge pool. And so we have outstanding airmen, outstanding soldiers, outstanding civilians. And, of course, we couldn't do it all without the support of our families and our employers. And I can tell you, we owe a debt of gratitude to the Commander-in-Chief, Governor Leon Guerrero. In in her effort, she's passionate about the National Guard.
Well, as from the Bank of Guam, and they've consistently won awards at the ESGR, and then of course now as the government of Guam, which has also won some of the significant awards and recognition for their support of the Guard and Reserve. I don't see that changing anytime soon, just because we've got a different governor. I think, in fact, it's possible that some of the work that gets done to help support so many of the men and women in the Guard and Reserve that are also government of Guam employees. I think maybe we'll see maybe an uptick in some of the kind of support that gets out there.
Absolutely, and as long as we support her initiatives to promote integrity, trust, and honesty in the National Guard, I think we'll be on good footing.
Words to live by. Look, if it works for her, it works for you. And the last thing here from for Facebook Live is from a girl named Chalorna Laron, General Agagi, my former volleyball coach.
Well, half a day. How are you?
So is it now? Will there be a volleyball team now?
Now there will.
Now there will be, right? Now there will be at the Guard and Reserve. We'll have the Army take on the Air Force, and we'll exchange. When are the tag games coming up?
We don't have anything planned right now, but I think I think we can get something in
Come on, those
motion.
are crazy fun. There's always the 5K. That's one of the things I look forward to. It's a 5K, and it's a great opportunity for members of the civilian community to run with members of the Guard and Reserve. And the way they do it is, in my recollection, is you've got the Army guys, and sometimes the Army guys are the ones that plan it, and sometimes it's the Air Force guys that are ones to plan it. So I've always seen the distinction is the Army guys will pick the hardest route, and they'll make you. There's a hill there. Let's run it. Get up there because they're built for torque is the idea, and then if it's you can always tell when it was organized by the Air Guard because everywhere you go there's a 2-hole punch. There's some kind of a 2-hole punch and a stapler and everything is there's the record keeping that you guys do. I'm like, dude, it's just a 5K. It's all right. No, you have to sign this. It has to be legal. I'm going to take this to the general and get a signature on this as well. You know, we got to get the guys in supply here to issue your bid.
Wow, I know whose side you're on now. Ray. Painful. But ask them who won the last Tag Cup.
I'm just saying. So we'll see what happens next time around 9:38 in the morning. General, congratulations. It's great to have you in the studio, and I'm really, really proud.
The honor is mine. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And Major Joe, so we'll see you at one of the 5Ks this weekend, right?
Absolutely. Well, not this weekend. We have drill this weekend. So we'll be playing up in Anderson and wherever else we're running around. But in the upcoming ones, definitely.
In the upcoming, okay, because I was going to say this one's down at Marshall Sablon in Agate, which means Pop's Bakery afterwards.
I know, right?
Right? It's in 9:38 in the morning. That's iConnect time. Swing by the nearest iConnect and learn about 2019, all the great things that they've got in store for you. Push to talk and mobile and internet plans that you're not going to believe. Call 888-8888.
Cheers to 80 years. It's our 80th anniversary and the gifts are on us. 80 gift certificates, 8 shopping sprees, 8 staycations, and 1 round-trip flyaway for 2 to Manila. So how do you enter? Calvo's Insurance personal home and auto customers are automatically entered. Non-Calvo's customers may enter by receiving a qualified quote. It's our way of saying thank you for trusting us for the past 80 years. For more details, visit calvos.com/giveaway or call 472-6816. Calvo's Insurance, serving Guam for 80 years.
20 away from 9 o'clock in the morning. And before she leaves, a note here from my buddy Steve Reuter, who is one of the guys, one of the other influencers in the United Guam International Marathon that's going to be coming up. And he says, Major Blas and the Tag are runners. Please ask if they're signed up for the marathons. Have you gotten yours done yet?
We are now.
No, you actually got to go in and sign up. Okay, because
I signed up already.
You did sign up. Okay, so did you get the personalized bib?
I did.
And it says?
It says Joe Patrick because it's I push my son when I run.
Yeah, so it's the both of you?
Yes.
So that's the big deal is the price is going up at midnight tonight and you get to personalize your bib.
Then that's a priority for me today.
All right, so she's going to become and maybe the bib is going to be Tag or something like that. But thanks for pointing that out, Steve. 20 away from, and you know what they're doing over at Wendy's these days? It's going to knock you down. Spaghetti. I had I had the meal version of it last night, and I got to tell you, I know how to cook spaghetti. I like to think that I'm a pretty good spaghetti guy. You know, leave the sauce in all day long and put all kinds of different flavors into it, and they beat me. They've totally got me in a box on this one, and you ought to try it out too. If you're a big spaghetti fan, then definitely try it. $6.49, you can't go wrong. That's the dinner size. I get a snack size for $3.49. Zesty sauce and great seasoned ground beef, and then of course you've got the pasta noodles in there. Really, really is good, and they should start serving in about 20 minutes. So try it today.
Introducing Exchanged, Guam's first online and mobile remittance to the Philippines.
Exchanged is the easiest and fastest way to send money to your family and friends anywhere in the Philippines. Download the Exchanged app or visit their website, exchange.me. Sign up, remit, and get a chance to win a trip for 2 to Manila. Deluxe accommodations at the Belmont Hotel at Resorts World Manila. So sign up and remit now at Exchanged. Promo ends March 2nd, 2019. Conditions apply. Also avail of Exchange dollar to remit promo. Visit exchange.me for details. Soldiers, Army women in the Army and Air Force was the way that works. Congratulations to the new Tag, General Esther Agagi. And you got something you want me to talk about? 888-255, 888-255-888-TALK. In the waning minutes of the program here, it's 9:32, and yes, there were selfies taken, and All right. Looking to see if there's anything else on the phone that I need to attend to, and the answer there is no. What a day! What a day! You know what? This is one of those weird things where I wake up in the morning and I'm brushing my teeth because I do that every day, right? And I was going to say shave my face, but I haven't done that in a couple of months now. But I go, I wonder what I'm going to talk about today. I wonder what we're going to do that's going to fill 4 hours of the FM radio band, and every day. Something pops up that is interesting, up to and including there's a new boss over at the shop at the Guard, and it's a lady in keeping, I think, with a lot of appointments that are being made in this new government in this new time that we're in, and I've got my fingers crossed that it will all turn out to be good for everybody, men and women in this town. 9:42 in the morning. There were a few other things that were kind of notable. What have I been able to get to this morning? A conversation with Dr. Claire Ruane at the University of Guam on the perception of corruption on Guam, and I urge you to read the thing. And let me see if I can put the link to it back up online on the Facebook Live. Control C, and then we go over here, and then we put it over there, and then it's going to be Control V. I know, right? And okay, so there's the link. Excuse me, that will take that was a Wendy's spaghetti burp that I just held in for a second there. Did you hear that pause? That was me holding in the burp of the spaghetti. It's like eating it again. 9:43. So anyway, there's the link that'll take you to the results of the survey that they conducted. And unfortunately, there's a feeling in this town that there is corruption. We've got it. It's pretty high, and somebody needs to do something about it. Which is the other thing. One of the other findings in this survey is there are a lot of people that recognize that they might have witnessed one kind of corruption or another, but are waiting for somebody else to deal with it. Somebody else needs to address this corruption issue, whether it's somebody in the media, whether it's somebody in the government, at the courts, at the Attorney General's office, at the U.S. Attorney. Somebody else has got to do it. And you go, well, why don't you do it? And the answer is, because I don't want to risk the retaliation. The effect of the retaliation that you might suffer here on Guam if you expose some kind of corruption and embarrass somebody in power. On the other hand, hey, this is radio. You know what? I want to be able to do that every day.
Yeah, I've been here a couple of years, but I have suddenly realized why many in media don't point out corruption in government. Because at the rate they were all jumping off the ships like roaches when this administration went in, they're all booking for jobs, so they're not going to call anybody out on it.
That's an interesting perspective, and I wonder if there's anything to that. Me personally, I've never really I've had politicians in my family. You know this. I've had people that have run for political office, been appointed to political office, have been hired by different governors in the place. And there might. I've seen some of the things that they've got to get through and endure in order to keep their jobs. And sometimes I'm going, I don't want that. I don't think I need that.
We have the other Governor Leon Guerrero on the phone.
I think that title's going to stick, don't you?
I hit already.
I'm sorry, I gotta do that because it's funny to me. So we got two Governor Leon Guerreros. One is Lou Leon Guerrero, and the other one is Ken Leon Guerrero. We're talking about corruption. Do you think it's high on Guam there, my friend?
Well, look at the name of our organization, Guam Citizens for Public Accountability, which was started when people wanted me to stand up and speak out against corruption because they were afraid to, because they worked for the government, their mother worked for the government, their husband worked for the government. So they all came up to me and started saying, Mr. LG, could you say something about this? And that was the basis of our organization.
But a good example, and a good example, and what's the first thing out of the mouths of the people in power when you begin to criticize them? What's the first thing they do, Ken?
They attack me.
Right. So that's what people want to avoid here. That's what folks want to avoid is, I'll look at something and so-and-so signed a lease for a piece of CLTC property, and knowing that it was a lease that would benefit somebody in the first degree of familial relationships. Now, in my mind, what Mike did there was obviously corrupt.
Yes.
In the very least, he needed to step away from that. He needed to recuse himself. I'm sorry, I can't sign this document, regardless of what my position is, and regardless of your position as an applicant, because you are a member of my family. So that meets the definition that Dr. Claire Ruane gave me this morning. That is a kind of misuse of the policy for some kind of personal gain. And I'm sorry, if you do something nice for a member of your family and in a department or agency in the government of Guam, that's you cannot just say, well, it was policy, I could have done it, so I did do it. That's a member of the family. It's a first degree, and it's a benefit for everybody, and it should not have happened.
Well, it's even deeper than that.
Well, no, it's gonna get deeper than that, because they're still toying with legislation over at in the government of Guam that would basically forgive all of those missteps.
Yeah.
We're going to say, yeah, it was bad before we found it, and so here's what we're going to do is moving forward, we promise to be good. But all of the other sins of the past, nobody is going to be held accountable. Nobody's going to be held responsible for any of that stuff. And you know what? The taxpayers, the voters of Guam, you're just going to have to suck it up like you always do.
Well, that may have been the feeling in the past, but I think these past two elections have shown that the voters of Guam are not just sucking it up anymore. Because think about it. In 2 election cycles, we've gotten rid of all the established political powers in the legislature in 2 election cycles.
Wait. Let me think now. I'd have to take a look at all of the names of the people that were taken out in the 33rd Guam legislature that are back now,
There were 8 of them.
and then the people that came out of the 34th Guam legislature, who with only a couple of exceptions, I think Frank and Dennis are the only 2 that aren't working in the government right now.
Well, they're not working in the government, but what I'm talking about is the legislature controls the creation of policy in the pocketbook. So that's the first place the people of Guam need to pay attention. Who's introducing what bills? Because once those bills are introduced, then the second layer of corruption takes place when appointed or non-appointed officials decide on how to interpret it. And I'll go back to the agriculture leases as an example. You know, there was a law, it was clearly defined, and then Department of Agriculture got a wild hair up somewhere and decided we're going to interpret these leases differently than the law says. But because nobody was watching how they did it, 41 leases were issued. But when you look at what happened to those 41 leases, almost all of them are in violation of the intent of the law, but nobody called any of the officials on it.
Dude, maybe there's Leavin Camacho can do something about that. You send him all of that information?
Well, we're gonna take a look at that, because when we tried to bring these types of issues before the past Attorney General, we were told basically the government of Guam represents, the Attorney General's office represents the government. We're not going to entertain complaints from citizens, which was, you know, kind of like I couldn't believe it when we were getting that type of feedback from the Attorney General's office. So we'll see whether or not Leavin is going to follow that well-worn path and represent the government against the people, or if he's going to represent the people who elected him. That's what we're going to be real interested to see what happens as this year unfolds. But going back to that report, the corruption begins, the highest level of corruption documented was the political parties.
Yeah, I saw that.
You go down the
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was an interesting take on that. Is who do we trust least? And unfortunately, it's all we've got. It's what we're stuck with. And you guys tried to break that mold with the write-in campaign 6 months ago. And I got to tell you, I was delighted with the response. I mean, there's 8,000 write-ins in the gubernatorial, the general election here. I think that bodes well for the conversation that we still need to have about coming up with a third-party solution.
Well, that 8,000 is going to put the senators on notice when we try to reintroduce the bill to eliminate the primary election. Because the primary election is the tool that the parties use to control who gets to play the game.
Yes.
We eliminate the primary election, then it becomes a more democratic process, and more people will be willing to run for the legislature. Because I've been trying to get a lot of people to run for office, and there's always two barriers. One is the primary, and I can't tell you how many good people have told me, "Oh no, the party won't approve me,"
Well, yeah, but in some cases, the party is stuck with you. But what they do with you afterwards is a completely different story. They might have to take you in because you said you're a Republican. But you know what? Yeah, you can come to the rallies, but we're not going to let you speak. You come to the rallies, we'll let you stand on the stage and clap when our anointed candidates get to speak. But you're not going to get to speak. In fact, could you do me a favor and help the guy with the folding chairs afterwards? That would be a great big help because you're a big Republican guy.
Well, if you look at the 33rd and the 34th, the Republican Party went out of their way to ignore Mary Torres and James Espaldon in the 33rd and in the 34th election.
Well, did you see? Well, you remember what the Republican minority did with Mary Torres?
Yeah.
I mean, just like 5 weeks ago, when we were getting close to the inauguration, they had to pick the officers for the minority at the legislature. Mary Torres is the daughter of the first elected governor of Guam. Her brother was twice elected governor of Guam, and they treat her like crap.
And look at her votes. She was among the vote getters.
And look at her votes. So there's something to be said about that. And now what I'm going to call, and people are going to say maybe I'm too nice to Mike St-Nicholas, but I think I'm going to call it the retribution tour that Mike St-Nicholas is on right now. Mike St-Nicholas can do no good in the eyes of some of the party seniors of the Democrat Party, and because they're still pissed off at him about not writing his name on their unity pledge. Come on, you have to. It's like it's like little kids. I'll eat a bug if you eat a bug, and then everybody ate the bug, and Mike said, "Well, I'm not eating a bug," but we all did. Yeah, but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to eat a bug. What?
Well, that's why this coming legislature, we're really looking forward because that 8,000 write-in votes was a very significant percentage. It was 25% of all votes cast.
Right. Well, to be fair, the honest, moral consistency here, not all of them were for Frank and Alicia. There were a few in there for me and Bob Klitsky.
I know, but the whole point is there were 25% of registered voters cast a write-in for someone.
Mm-hmm. There's a
very
desire.
Strong mandate to go back to the legislature and push for eliminating the primary election, because if they don't, the senators have seen how strong the public support would be for election reform.
Yep.
And our goal is if we don't get election reform by the end of the first quarter, then this second quarter we're going to start our village meetings and do a voter initiative.
Hold off. I'm waiting until after the first 100 days, but we talked about that yesterday, dude. You know what? I gotta run. My producer Mike is he's cracking the whip on the break, so I gotta take the break. I'll talk to you pretty soon.
All right.
Have an incredible morning. 888-8255. And if you're on Facebook Live, click on the link that I just put up, and you'll be able to download and read the history of corruption on Guam, or at least somebody's feelings about whether it's good or bad or whatever it is I said it was. Find that at the Facebook Live now. 9:55. Be right back.
At Chili's, our burgers stack up with anyone's. Handcrafted to order, smashed to lock in flavor on a toasted brioche bun. Our burgers are all kinds of perfect. Choose from the Chili's Chili, the Mushroom Swiss, the Ultimate Bacon, or you know what? We dare you to take on the Boss Burger. Loaded with smoked brisket, rib meat, jalapeno cheddar sausage, and bacon. We may have really out-burgered ourselves. Our burgers are more than a handful, served with garlic dill pickles and fries. So hurry in today and enjoy our juicy, melty, yummy, handcrafted creations. Perfection between two buns. Chili's, more life happens here.
Here at Make-A-Wish, our Wish kids wish for all kinds of things. A lot of them involve traveling to faraway places. On Monday, February 18th from 6 until 10, we'll be holding an airlines mileage drive with me, Ray Gibson, on 93.3 The Point, to help us grant these travel wishes. So if you've got spare airline miles, you can donate them without any transfer fees. Your donation will go a long way, and so will our Wish kids. Yeah, see, everybody got an opinion on this Mike Nicholas thing. Lady D says, Mike Nicholas too busy kissing butts and following the snowflakes to work for Guam. I got to take a look at what he wrote. So, like I said, everybody's got an opinion, and in my mind, I think he's still getting a ration of guff from among the high command of the Democratic Party, because you didn't sign the pledge. Only people that sign the pledge can be our friends. And see what happens now. We got Democrat won the governor's office. Democrat ones, lots of Democrats over at the legislature, and they're all still ticked off at him. So he's not going to be able to do anything right. He might actually, it might actually be capable of doing something decent for Guam in that committee. Except he's surrounded by nut jobs, which is the only point that I wanted to finish off in the conversation about having the elimination of the primary and allowing for independents to be able to go directly to the general election. Thereby bypassing this process of campaigning and spending and things like that. The only problem that I have is it increases the potential for us to have more nut jobs show up on the general election ballot. And when I say nut jobs, I think you can close your eyes right now and envision exactly the person that I'm thinking of. On the other hand, it's possible that when I say nut jobs, there's two things going through your head. Maybe it's the images of some of the people that you think are nut jobs. Might also be, but wait a second, Ray. Some of those nut jobs are already at the legislature, so they don't need to be running in an independent party or in any kind of independent capacity. Oh well, we'll maybe agree and disagree on whether Mike Nicholas is a hero or whether he's a noob shaloob over in Congress. I suppose only time will tell. But the same way that we give the benefit of the doubt to the administration and their appointees and nominees, then I think we ought to be generous with the benefit of the doubt for Levin Camacho and B.J. Cruz and Mike Nicholas in the new roles that they have got. Studio time, 9:59. That means I got a minute left before this show is done. Did I get to everything? Talked about that. Talked about that. PUC meeting tonight. Yeah, talked about that. Legislative first hearing. Talked about that. Chinese testing the missiles. Got to that. Budget. Oh, did not get to the conversation about the Department of Education's $343 million budget request for FY 2020. But if things are going the way they seem to be going now, my guess is that even as conservative as the 343 looks, it probably still is going to be the need for holding back. And then there's this one here. If you are a SNAP member, if you got that Quest card in there, the folks over at Public Health are saying you better conserve those funds, because March is a gigantic question mark. You have the February money in there now. And if you spend it all between now and the closing and subsequent reopening of the federal government, there may or may not be any money in those programs for you. So either get a job or conserve what you got. It's time for Fox News on KUSG Agana.
Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The blast of record cold killing several people in the Midwest and Plains, parts of the region colder than Antarctica. Fox's Steve Rappaport has more live.
Lisa, 22 states recording sub-zero temperatures today, with the wind chill in some areas hitting 60 below. Governors in 3 states issuing states of emergency, urging residents to stay indoors or risk death. Homeless populations are among the most vulnerable in this cold snap. The city of Chicago turning buses into mobile warming centers. Office of Emergency Management Executive Director Rich Gaitis.
Nobody should have to go cold throughout the night in Chicago. We have well over 200 facilities citywide. If you're cold, you have somewhere to go.
The National Weather Service says a wind chill of 25 below can freeze skin in 15 minutes.